Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today we've got the pleasure of watching Power Noob playing in the Tier 10 American non-turreted tank destroyer, the T10 And while Power Noob clearly is an excellent player, I'm not so sure about his taste in color scheme here. What do you all think about this? Obviously Wargaming's new customization system has been in the game for a couple of months now. What is the most wacky paint jobs that you have been able to bring out, both historical and non-historical? I haven't really been too bothered with it. The only reason why I put camouflage on my tanks is to be able to get that extra little bit of camouflage bonus. Kind of pay to win when you think about it, but that's the way it is. But of course, I'm featuring the T10 today, not only because this is a fantastic replay, and I love commentating on these close games. Spoilers, right? Well, all of the games on this channel, at least these kind of really big ones, are pretty darn close, right? But also because everybody's been badger this, badger that. Of course, everybody received one who had the FV215B183, and lots of people have been grinding their way to be able to pick one up. I believe it's still top of the tree at the moment, or is that just about ended? Maybe that ended in December. Not 100% certain. All I know is there's a lot of badgers about, or at least there used to be a lot of badgers about. They seem to have really died off in the last few weeks, maybe more or less the last month. I guess because people are figuring out it's not the kind of just sit in front of your opponents and completely win the game. But for me as well, it hasn't completely replaced the T10 like I thought that it might do. And even though it's got a variety of things better than the T10 this is still, in my opinion, the go-to tank for when you just absolutely want to dig in and hold the line. Nothing quite cuts it like the T10 And I think the real advantage that the T10 has over the Badger has to be this 155mm full-on Tier 10 tank destroyer gun. Now the Badger has 123mm with 480 alpha damage. I tell a lie. I tell a lie, I make a mistake. I'm not really trying to trick you. But the Badger, while it has all of the DPM with its crazy rate of fire, just, you know, that loss of about 33% of its alpha damage is pretty brutal, right? And for a lot of people, alpha damage in World of Tanks is very important. And of course, in a trading scenario like this, where you're shooting at an IS-7, you want to be doing 750, because he's slinging those APCR rounds at Power Noob here. And it looks like Power Noob has had quite enough of the IS-7 slinging premium rounds at him. So he puts another armor-piercing round into the IS-7. I believe that's his third armor-piercing round. And now he's going to tap that 2 key. I guess because he's going to have to deal with a T10 and a Badger on the enemy team. And, you know, the 375mm of penetration that these premium rounds have on the E3 is another one of its advantages. The Badger has rather lackluster penetration on its standard rounds of 272 compared to the 295 that this tank has. But when you dab that 2 key, you have over 50mm better premium penetration than the Badger. The Badger just doesn't really have that premium pen to allow it to just laugh at super heavily armored tanks. The E3, on the other hand, certainly does, with 375mm of pen. And when your base shell cost is costing you, how much does the base shell cost on the T10 Let me have a quick look. 1,650, and when the premium shells cost what, 4,000? How much is it exactly on this tank? They're not so expensive, 5,200 actually. So you're increasing the cost by an extra 300% or quadrupling the cost. But when it makes the difference between actually penetrating the enemy tank and not, like the outer plate of the Badger there, well angled, it's probably got about 280, 290mm of armor. A standard round could have very easily not gone through there. And in these kind of close quarters scenarios, it's a right knife fight. It looks like everybody seems to be slinging those premium rounds. The E3 on the enemy team ricocheted off, then it can really make all of the difference. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not condoning premium rounds. I'm not saying that you have to fire premium rounds to be successful in your T10 but in these Tier 10 only matchups where everybody seems to have very high armor, it certainly does help. Another advantage I feel that the T10 has over the Badger is that its upper hull armor is just a little bit thicker. Now, the Badger has those two kind of little cuppy bits that come out on the front of the hull here that have about 300mm, and that would be very vulnerable to the premium rounds on this tank. But the upper hull on the T10 it's kind of impervious, and even the cupola on top of the vehicle, when I say the cupola, I should more mention that it's kind of a machine gun port on top of the vehicle. Unlike the T10 it's not a weakness, and I think that's another one of the strengths of this tank. A lot of people shoot a T10, which I believe is the more popular vehicle. A lot of people seem to play the T10 still. Well, maybe not in the age of this kind of heavy tank meta that we've got at the moment. but a lot of people fight against a T10E4 and they just can't quite figure it out when they fight against a T10E3. The top of the tank is not a weak point, and they really struggle with going through the lower plate as well because it's significantly stronger on the E3. In addition, the rate of fire is better, the gun depression is better. Long story short, if you like, it's one of my most frequently asked questions. Shall I get the T10E3? Shall I get the T10E4? Well, are you willing to sacrifice the flexibility of the tank to just become this hold the line monster, kill everything in front of it and bounce everything in front of it? Then get the T10E3. And funnily enough, I think that if you want to play a flexible tank, why not just get the E100? I feel that while this maybe not have the crazy rate of fire, and arguably its armor is a lot worse than the T10E3, it just has that extra kind of side protection, it has the extra hit points, it even has the extra mobility, believe it or not, to I think justify playing an E100 instead of a T10E4. I'm not saying the T10E4 is a bad tank, not by a long shot, but I would rather have an E100 and a T10E3. And that's the answer to the long story and one of my frequently asked questions, right? So Power Noob has already cut 8,000 hit points out of the enemy team here, and with one more shot on the 111.5A, he puts up his kill total to 5, which is the same amount as the rest of his team combined. Well, actually, one more than the rest of his team. Well, now the same amount as the rest of his team combined, but he's still got his work cut out for him here. A TVP tries to flank. 872 damage into there. That's a rather meaty roll. He also tracks the TVP, and he's finished off by the 100. But the pattern comes around, slams a heat round into the IS-7, who's now going to be vulnerable from flanking fire from the AMX-50B. So Power Noob decides to take it upon himself to go and flank east, try and get round that corner. Object 140, massive mistake there, buddy. Power Noob auto-aims, shuts down the tier 10 Soviet medium tank, and refocuses his attention on the M48. Now he's got to work with this E100 behind him. The M48 is not going to allow the E3 to flank him, but hopefully the E100 can finish off the M48 as Power Noob flushes him out into the open. But oh gosh, tier 10 French heavy tank on full health, and Power Noob makes his first power mistake there, auto-aiming at the 50B, fails to hit it, and so that means he's going to have to hit him at least 3 times now if he wants to take it out, and that's if he doesn't low roll. And this is where the T10E3 is immensely frustrating for me to play. It's just a rather low, I wouldn't say it's a low skill cap. Yeah, I guess it is. You're kind of hampered by the mobility of the vehicle. But then again, you have to get a little bit wise. You have to get a little bit sneaky. You have to get a little bit clever. And let's see if Power Noob's going to be able to do that. So first shot into the Gorilla. Good roll, 843, but the Gorilla still has over 900 hit points left. Now, Power Noob has to stop this tier 10 French heavy tank from flanking. He tries to ram him to damage his tracks. He actually does 200 damage to the 50B there, which means that if he gets a bit of a fire or rolls high, he might be able to take him out in 2 shots, but he fails to do so. He bounces the 50B once, fails to bounce the second time. The Gorilla puts a round into his side there, but Power Noob quite rightly angles towards the 50B, knowing the Gorilla would be reloading. Bounces the 50B again. Oh my word, bounces the Gorilla. Oh, this is getting scary. The only thing that I think Power Noob could have done there is probably loaded a high explosive round to maybe take out the Gorilla in a single shot, but for some reason the Gorilla wants to ram Power Noob there. What a mistake. Now Power Noob up to 7 kills. The AMX-50B, 1,160 hit points. 1,116 hit points, sorry. He's going to have to shoot him 2 more times, and he's on 12,200 damage. Puts one into the back of the tank to push him just over 13,000. It looks like he ran his luck a little bit too much here, ladies and gentlemen, as the AMX-50B finishes him off. And what a heartbreak here for Power Noob, unable to pick up the 8th kill to secure that Radley Walters medal. But 13,000 damage, just shy of it that we saw. What a monster round for a monster hold-the-line tank. So despite heroic efforts here by Power Noob on Christmas Day of all days, and 12,933 damage dealt, 5 times what anyone else on his team was able to achieve, and the high caliber for that, it was a heartbreak. But the T10E3 performed admirably here, ricocheting 7,740 damage, nearly enough to kill the tank 3 times over, and Power Noob showcased excellent marksmanship apart from that one bad shot against the AMX 50B, but it was a very clutch situation. He probably needed to fire quickly before it got back around the corner and hit 20 out of 21 shots, and every single one of those penetrated the enemy tank. And while he did fire a few premium rounds here, even after he resupplies everything, he made 103,000 credits profit because of this Christmas bonus shenanigans that's been going on. But even without that bonus, he would have still been profitable with a premium account at the end of the day. So Power Noob, commiserations on the heartbreak, but I think you summed it up well at the top. Sometimes you just can't carry, and I don't think anyone could have asked any more from you in this game. But thank you so much for uploading it on the WOT Replays website for the community to enjoy. I certainly did. I loved that close quarters combat at the end where you were having to ricochet multiple opponents and then make those micro adjustments, something that a lot of us can learn from. And I hope all you ladies and gentlemen enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it's released on Sunday, it's time for another World of Tanks Tech Tree Showcase on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And this week, the majority of you voted for the Object 430, I guess because, of course, that tech tree is going to be significantly changed in Update 922. And so thanks to the 940 of you who voted, I'm going to be making my way to one of the most brutal high DPM tanks in the game in the form of this Tier 10 Soviet medium tank. And if you've never been to one of my tech tree showcases before, they're basically like miniature tank reviews starting from Tier 1 and working my way all the way up to Tier 10 so you can see if it's a line that's maybe worth playing, or alternatively, if you already have the tanks, maybe pick up a few tips and tricks along the way. And I'll try to make sure I address all questions about the 922 update, at least what I know about it so far. And so really looking forward to seeing as many of you as possible right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.